Hello, friends. How are you today? I hope you can hear the chime that is playing in the background. Hear that? It's really beautiful. I wanted to talk to you about the sun at Neptune, the Yod to Lilith, and let's also talk about when the sun was at Saturn and the meaning of that, because it was intense and potent and it's still affecting us. And I think combining it with the sun at Neptune is important analysis. So the sun at Neptune, there's almost like a magnetic effect to the energies. Neptune is deep and wide. At the bottom of the ocean, Neptune represents the ocean and the god of the ocean. At the bottom of the ocean, it's very murky and difficult to see. And there's a lot of illusion, disillusion with Neptune. This is the sign of addiction, of the unconscious, of secret enemies. But it's also the sign of wonderful, wonderful things like art, glamour, beauty, attractive, beautiful, inspiring people, ideas, creations, inventions. With the sun here, it's an opportunity to allow some of these things to burn off you in the negative and then to activate and enliven within you in the positive. We're in a very deeply balsamic phase of the lunar new year. So this is happening at a really interesting time because you can really let go of some things here and change your life for the better. I mean, if you want. And, the insights are going to be bubbling, but the activation of this isn't going to come until the new moon in Aries, which is March 29. This is 2025. The lunar new year activates the doing in the physical. So it might be hard to get things done right now, or you might have a feeling of frustration of wanting to push forward, but you feel like you can't get anything done right now, or you're stuck in molasses. And the thing is the best use of these energies is for processing, says the crow. I mean, the crow is like the gateway keeper, and right now the gateway is open to these things. It's intensified by the fact that Saturn was at 22 degrees and the sun was at 22 degrees when they met a little over a week ago, I think it was. Yeah. They're putting in their 2 cents. You know why? Because it was an intense life or death energy. And it's said that, one of the things that crows have knowledge of is the gateway to life. It's the gateway for life and death. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why you have seen... Did you see the crow went in my video? Hey there. Hey there, brother. Anyway, that's one of the reasons why these very dangerous activities have been taking place and, that are politically motivated. Various activities like this is because of that energy. It's a life and death energy. It's very intense. People who use the occult for certain things, try to take action on those days. But the fact is the sun is just as good as burning shit off as enlightening it, okay? We're in post-eclipse energies, and it's not a good time to start things right now. Mercury is retrograde, Venus is retrograde, which is at an eclipse. And I'll tell you, it's in the chart. The energies end for anything initiated in the eclipse period in 3 to 6 months. And if they don't end in 3 to 6 months, they end in 6 years. So, or have to go a significant change. Yeah. So, that also means that strategies started at this time, it can be used, that can be used to end something. Like, all these people who post Sun Tzu memes, if you have a certain mind, you would encourage someone to activate at the eclipse because you're basically encouraging them to end whatever you've encouraged them to start. The energy just won't be present for it. God, we're going in some deep places we don't normally go, at least not on video. But here's the other thing I wanted to tell you. There's a Yod to Lilith. And, I've talked to my teacher about Lilith, and a lot of people, I get comments they don't like that I don't talk about the negative aspect of Lilith. Well, so many other people do that. I feel like it's pretty well covered. But the other thing is, I'm very, very familiar, with that energy. And in my life, I feel that I learned to transform it. And it was a huge, big deal in my life. Like, it was one of the goals of my life when I was young, was to transform certain things. And you could say that they were Lilith expressions. Well, here's the thing. This sun at Neptune is almost exact with Lilith at in Libra. And she is, I think, at the anaretic degree, 29 degrees. And so there's a shit ton of karma. Sorry, I'm swearing today, but that's what the energies are calling me for. There's a lot of karma, negative and positive. Hi there. See, that was positive. So let me just say something. If you run into a woman or you have a relationship with a woman who can be feisty, just be really careful today and over the next few days, because women, the Lilith energy, it's gonna be a bitch. And it's gonna be feisty, and it's gonna not let go. There's not going to be any apologizing. There's not going to be any letting go of the argument. That's the thing. So what it opens us up to is the opportunity to see this in ourselves and to see where we're being triggered and to potentially heal it. Like, that would be a huge spiritual undertaking. It took me years to get a hold of that energy myself. But Lilith is, she's at 29 degrees, and so she evolves to 30 of Libra, or 0 of Scorpio. 29 of Libra, is a difficult degree because it's about, bringing consciousness to something. And this is not easy for Lilith, because the Lilith energy, which is part of the dark feminine in women, it's easier just to go off on a tear, to react emotionally, and then to become hardened in that position. And this is what, if you have an unhealed Lilith, or if you've healed a lot of Lilith, but then something triggers you, like happened to me this morning, you're not going to let it go. That's just how it is. And that's a squirrel up in the tree. I'm going to have to look up the energy for all these animals. I'm sure they're all contributing their energy to this video. He's climbing up, and he seems to be pulling on the redwood bark for some reason. Anyway, there's actually a yod to Lilith. And so the other part of the wing, so one of the wings is Sun and Neptune, and the other wing is Sedna at 0 degrees of Gemini. Now, the reason I say it like that is, Sedna energy can be deep victimization. Okay, so now Sedna is in a spiritual challenge, a quincunx with Lilith, who's being a bitch right now. Like, not too uncommon for Lilith, but she's an uncomfortable, part of the zodiac. She's at an uncomfortable degree. She's a shadow goddess. And the only way you can have consciousness about something is you need to work at it. You got to be devoted. You got to be committed. Hear that? Oh my God, what a blessing. And you got to be willing to connect with that divinity that you are and live it every day. Okay, that's my dog chewing the ball. You can probably hear him. God, that's beautiful. And it's not easy, because in the moment that you want to keep arguing, or in the moment that you want to say that thing that you're probably going to regret later, possibly to a loved one. My buddy the tree. when you get that ping of anger, that ping of reactivity, here's the option. You notice it with your mind. And I did a teach-in on my paid membership. It was really good, I have to say, where we talked about this and how to use the mind. But in the moment of wanting to react emotionally, instead you allow the mind to observe that and to make the decision to be quiet and to not say it and to not do it. And this requires a lot of restraint. And it requires, especially if you're a woman, the dark feminine is one of the hardest energies to get a hold of. I've just been really musing on the dark feminine because it's been shocking how many of these leaders in our American government, Western governments that were women have made decisions where the lives, like they did not consider, they caused death and mayhem. If you're watching this video, you may not be old enough to remember the promise of feminism. Oh, when women are running the world, it's going to be a kinder and gentler place and there'll be no more wars. Well, in fact, I'm watching these videos of these women and it's just, the whole COVID thing, there were so many women involved in that, when the manipulations of that. It's just been shocking, and one of the things I've been musing on is the Creator, instilled the ability to create life within women, and why, when things go wrong with female energy, why does it become murderous and extraordinarily controlling? The thing that we need to watch for as women is the ability for ourselves to become controlled by our emotions. And it can happen through trauma. I get it. I actually do. But at some point, we have to take responsibility for how am I acting. It can be a journey of many years. I have compassion over that. But at some point, you look at yourself and you say, what am I doing? And, I thank God for the awakenings that I've had. So be careful around feisty women. And, if you are a woman or there are feminized aspects of the self, this is an opportunity to let the negative of that go and allow it to be healed, because it could be dangerous. That someone dangerous just drove by. It's, it could be dangerous, and it could take you in life in a direction that you really, don't want to go. Because when you get older, I have a little bit of gray hair here, okay? When you get older, things open up in your life where you can actually look back. You can look back and say, what was this about? What happened in my life? I have found that it's just an energy in me that says, oh my God, when I was this year old, I made this decision and it affected the next 10 years of my life. Or I made this decision and it took me in a way that my life totally changed. And did I do that consciously? Did I not? I've really gone through and looked at these things in a lot of close detail. And when you do that and you're healing dark feminine aspects, it can be hard. Of course, there's masculine experiences of this as well, but there's a yod to Lilith. That's the finger of God in the chart saying, I need you to look at this. So that's why we're doing this today. Once you get some movement, take the action, bring the consciousness, make the conscious decision. Let me tell you what's going to happen if you do it. The energy, that you release now, what will become free is your energy to pursue the dreams that are the hopes of your heart and to act on them and to make them a reality. That's what's on the other side of healing, of letting it go, of becoming conscious. Hey, look at this.